All right. This is a song about, about upstate New York times, Catskills, Woodstock, Bearsville. 2, 3, 4.
It's a Pixies Podcast, an unvarnished, unfiltered document of the true creative process. Episode 11, The Story of Daniel Boone.
During the 3 weeks of December 2018, the Pixies were encamped at Dreamland Studios recording their new album, Beneath the Erie. Charles Thompson wrote no less than 4 songs that would make it onto the record. None served to reflect this creative burst quite so vividly as Daniel Boone. The penultimate song on the album, the one undisputed ballad, it was inspired, composed, demoed, arranged, recorded, overdubbed, and completed across 11 different days in the studio.
Last night I was driving around, nothing to do, thinking of you. I sighted here on the bend, reindeer, and then it was through.
In post-album interviews conducted by phone with Tony Fletcher, who was present at the recording sessions, Charles Thompson and producer Tom Dalgety talked about how Daniel Boone came to realization.
I think the Daniel Boone chords I wrote on the guitar like maybe 2 days before the session.
2, 3, 4.
Certain chord progressions, when you chance upon them, they immediately suggest something, a certain kind of mood. And sometimes those songs, you don't tinker around with it too much. You don't tinker around with the chords too much. You don't tinker around with some of the notes that you tend to sing. You don't tinker around with the mood. It's like it sort of arrives that way. And that's definitely one of those songs where it's like as soon as you play the chords and you say, okay, these are the chords for the song, and this is that's the note that's being sung there. It feels like it's already been written and you're just trying to reconstruct it from the air or whatever. You don't mess around with it too much. And that's definitely one that the tone and the vibe of the song was that way within the first 3 minutes of stringing some chords together,
That first recording of Daniel Boone, an acoustic version without lyrics, was made on Tom's phone, just the second evening, not in the studio, but at the former rectory, just down the hill from the church, where Charles, Joey, and Paz were staying and had converted the living room into a practice space.
Charles was just sort of noodling around with these chords, and I just thought, oh my god, this feels incredible. Right from that strange intro that's a little bit, it's a little bit Hotel California-ish, I guess, it has that kind of thing in its DNA. And it just sounded like really cool, spooky Americana.
The next day, December 3rd, Tom and Charles, each recognizing the potential for something special here, embarked on a lengthy conversation about the future song's arrangement.
I kind of had an idea about it, maybe rather than it having a kind of the A part being what it is and the B part being kind of the chorus. I was wondering whether actually the little turnaround within the A part, whether that's kind of the chorus.
I got my guitar right here, so it's like the A is.
So I was thinking middle verse here, and then sort of get like heavy instrumental for that bit.
So that was the A section.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Let me. You play it down, and I'll talk over it and show you what I mean.
Rather than be drawn too deep into early decisions, Charles asserts himself, knowing that once he presents vocals, a natural arrangement will emerge.
Just put the question aside for now, and when I actually start singing something, I think then it'll be clearer.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, you know what? You were right. The original A section is the A section, and the other thing is the chorus, or vice versa, whatever. Because I'm not even sure myself. Because sometimes when I'm doing, I'm like, oh yeah, this is chorus. Oh wait a minute, no, this feels kind of versy now.
Confirming his instinct, the part Charles hums to Tom as his chorus just the morning after recording an instrumental demo will survive intact all the way through to the master recording.
A minor, right? Then it's like.
Oh, yeah.
Then here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. It's cool.
That's the finish.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of
Like a moody drop kind of thing.
big pulse. It's big, but there's a lot of space in it.
The chorus starts on that G there.
C, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, I have an idea for you, and it's just like this. Let's call the B section C.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the A section would be the one that is the first, what I call the first half, which is the. And the B would be the resolve is. And then it's sort of like it evens out the sandwich in a nice way because you're going A B B A C.
I think that could be cool.
That's good. I like that.
Charles goes off to work on the song for a couple more days, returning on December 6th to record a guide demo. It's the first time that Charles puts lyrics to tape, and it transpires that the song is a direct result of the studio surroundings.
I was inspired by my drive to the session on a foggy night up there in the hills outside of Woodstock, where I almost hit a deer, and in my cargo van.
That was nice, easy. I had to brake very hard for a very, very large deer. I'm so glad I was kind of paying attention and I wasn't distracted by something in the car. I was just like, whoa! And I was trying not to go into, he was like right in my lane, slowly going to the other lane. I was like, then I ran into like 5 other deer, just all like in 15 minutes, just like they were just.
Is it up here?
Like probably about like 15 miles from here.
It provided a great starting point for a lyric to think about this character, another version of myself maybe, who is killed, in an accident involving hitting a large deer.
Last night I was driving around, nothing to do, thinking of you. I sighted here on the bend, reindeer, and then it was through.
Charles would surely not have been the only person that day to have hit a deer on the roads around the Catskills. Unpredictable in their movements, the animals frequently jump into, run across, or suddenly stop in the middle of roads that can be hazardous at the very best of times. The shock of a near miss provides a nasty jolt of adrenaline to the system. And for Charles, it also led him to imagine a worst-case scenario. The harsh truth is, deer have been known to crash through windscreens or side windows, leading to hospitalization, and in occasional tragic circumstances, something more finite.
I guess you could almost say it's a kind of a sister song or whatever to the opening song of our very first record, Caribou, also about a large deer creature. That song is much more abstract, but it also does touch upon the so-called reincarnation cycle or whatever. Daniel Boone is about the reincarnation cycle, in this case, set into motion by this head-on collision with a large creature in an automobile.
And I was floating towards the moon, and I noted from on high that the Lord Eyrie looked like Daniel Boone. He is showing me his smile.
This first acoustic demo is, frankly, gorgeous. But Tom, having already acknowledged its potential, is listening for something that he can't yet hear.
This needs a middle 8. Just hearing it up close and personal like this.
Okay.
I don't expect you to pull one out of thin air, but I feel like it needs to go somewhere that it doesn't yet go. Just because the chorus, as it is at the moment, is like a really good tension builder, and it's great, and it works really great the first time it happens, and then going back into the verse, and then the second time it's just like, so it needs to go beyond where it ends.
Maybe I even cook you up one of those bridges where it knocks that last chorus into a bit of a key change.
That's exactly the kind of thing. One of those even bigger than the chorus bridges.
All right, well, I'll bring one in tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Right.
Thank you. See that it's on my desk by 10?
10-ish.
10-ish sharp.
10-ish sharp.
I think that was another thing that was just a nice way of keeping everything fresh. The constant the constant promise of, hey, we can record this new song pretty soon. But you have to do your homework first. Did you, I don't suppose you managed to record this bridge for Danny Boone?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I'll work on that so that right before I came in this morning, I almost had the lyric for that bridge. I have the music for it.
Cool.
But so now, while you guys are picking up lunch, I'll just sit with it.
That'd be right.
It's now December 8th, and true to his word, Charles completes a lyric and records the middle 8 during lunchtime. Tom will later laugh about getting the song written to order, while also emphasizing why it was so important to insist upon a middle 8 in the first place.
Sometimes I see why. Sometimes blue.
It's great.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
It's like sort of bespoke songwriting, isn't it? It's like, hey, Charles, have you got a middle 8 section that's like really fucking this like intense epic thing that probably involves a key change or two, and I always love when middle 8s or bridges, for want of a better expression, middle 8s have the impact of being like a really huge chorus that only happens once.
Danny Boone!
Danny Boone, Danny Boone.
Having had the privilege of sitting in on a number of these acoustic renditions of Daniel Boone, I asked what seemed a natural question, and it turned out it was something Pixies themselves only answered for certain on their last album with Tom, Head Carrier.
That song sounds like it's meant to be an acoustic song. Is it going to be a full Pixies song?
Oh, it's going to be
We've
a blaster.
never done a recording that didn't feature all 4 members. It's sort of just, we discovered that with Tom on the last session we did.
Yeah, we tried to
Because we're like, oh yeah, he said, like, let's just do the stripped down acoustic guitar, vocal, maybe a lead guitar, and we're like, oh, okay, sure. We didn't think anything twice.
Yeah.
And as soon as we started to do it, we're like, no, this is all wrong. No, David has to have Congo drums or something. Congo drums. You know, we were just like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
That's like one of the rules.
Was that All the Saints, or what was it?
Yeah, Saints.
The following day, December 9th, you can hear the enthusiasm in Charles's voice as, homework delivered, he prepares to record Daniel Boone with the Pixies for the first time.
Quite a crucial
Joey
thing.
said it was a very intuitive arrangement.
Wow.
Was that your words?
Well, we'll see.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You said that,
You
John.
shouldn't have said
Sorry,
that.
I gave up too much of your power.
Yeah, exactly.
Joey thought it was good.
The initial arrangement itself may be intuitive, but that should not be taken to mean that Daniel Boone is simplistic. Charles's songs never are.
The sort of intro arpeggiated chord thing that Charles does, and then the verses, they're quite complicated. It's really quite muso, although he'd probably hate to admit it.
So what were the first?
So the first chord, this is like the intro. Oh. C minor, A minor, C minor, A minor, F, G sharp, C, F minor, then A minor, then F minor. It's 10 bars.
No.
C, B, D, G, C, B, G, C, D, A, F, G, C, F.
Who wrote this?
That 10-bar introduction is typical of Charles's delightfully deceptive songwriting, and it's something David Lovering references as he discusses sitting it out entirely.
Yeah, it's almost like I let it go the 10 bars in,
Yeah.
and then the verse,
Yeah.
or I just play something with a kick drum or something like that.
Yeah, maybe just
And then when
riding.
the verse comes in, that's when I come in. or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
Yeah. Let's try a few things, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just had one thought. Maybe like on the very first chorus, like instead of going to like the open kind of a ridey, so if it's just the first one's a little bit, and I was floating toward,
Like a floor tom thing.
and I noted from on high. Then now, like there, yeah. Let the Lord how he, something like that.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
Just before commencing the group recordings, Tom reminds Joey to revel in the song's unfamiliarity, something he referenced later about the ensemble performance.
Yeah, so Joey, I think on this one, the fewer like chords you play, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And the more kind of ringy,
Atmosphere.
drony, atmospheric stuff, the better. Maybe on the very last chorus join in with the chords or something like that, but
Okay.
it is at the core of it, the four of them playing together. And I think that's something that actually was made easier by the fact that it had just been written and it was so fresh that we didn't really have a huge amount of time to kind of overthink it, and we stayed pretty true to what it was just because it was so fresh.
Here we go. Go ahead, Dave.
I don't know if it was me steering him in this direction or him just naturally going for it, but I quite liked the way that Joey's parts are very simple and very much like just holding on one note and sort of making that sort of tension whilst Charles is off doing his his little jazz chord inversion seminar. there was just this instrumental verse after the the legendary middle eight that we've been talking about. Like, you know, it probably was going to be a guitar theme of some description, but I didn't really have a specific idea for it. So that's why it was like a real kind of euphoric moment in the control room when I was sort of, you know, just blown away by this completely like perfectly formed guitar solo. Joey, fucking amazing solo. Like Keeper. That's the solo.
I'm going home. Taking the train to the city.
It's a magical studio moment. But as ever the case with what's just a 3-week album session, there's no time for the band to rest on its laurels. Tom immediately has Dave back in to complete the initial drum tracks.
We good. I'm going to do a few little specific things with Dave, but we're good. Okay.
Looks like Daniel Boone, and he is showing me his smile today.
That was perfect, Dave.
You might think that with the group having finally recorded the song, the hard work is done. But in many ways, it's just starting. Tom can hear considerable voicings and instrumentation. So on December 10th, the day after recording the basics, he has Paz back in to redo her bass, and then Charles to record acoustic guitars.
By his own admission, Tom produces with the final mix in mind. I figure this is one reason he frequently asks band members in to double up on their parts or provide harmonies. It's like he can hear the finished blend in his head before the musicians even know quite what it is they're playing.
Just got a couple of parts I'd like you to double on the high strung.
Oh yeah.
We're going to the darkest depths of Mordor here, okay?
This is some crazy experimental shit that's going on here.
It sounds great though. It sounds really good.
Just do it and end the song right there. Just
yeah.
The next day, December 11th, Joey comes in to record various guitar parts for multiple songs. Having hit the ground running on Daniel Boone, Joey already has an intrinsic understanding of what the song requires.
Yeah. I got a little bit of ideas for the chorus on Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
It's got to be kind of sparse.
Yeah.
It's the lyrical moment.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Maybe have you got an Evo? You got an Evo?
Yeah.
You know, for that long C chord part in Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
That could be cool on Evo, couldn't it?
Yep.
It's that kind of song.
It's atmosphere.
Yeah. We both love Robert Fripp. So on Daniel Boone, there's a lot of that kind of like eerie, sort of sustained feedback kind of stuff. I mean, I think some of it's an EBow, but a lot of the time it's actually just him in front of the main monitors in the control room, just getting that sort of whining kind of feedback that just sustains forever and ever. You know, a little bit like the guitar sound in Heroes. Try that, it sounds a bit mellower. Say that. That's really nice.
Yep.
That's a cool thing.
We can't really beat that song.
No, I don't
mean,
think so. No, we can't. But what we can do is, I think, do some cool chords on the last chorus. Just because no one's doing anything, like, no one's rocking out. And I think you probably should.
Chords, huh?
This is your Tony Iommi moment. That was great.
Okay.
That's all it needs, I think.
Yeah.
So we got the moody. I think it needs to be a song that goes like this, you know, all the way along, and then suddenly gets big at the end. I don't think it needs much that earlier on.
Cool.
It's done.
It's another 5 days until Charles comes in to record his vocals. When he does, he nails the master take almost immediately.
Daniel Boone was a famous American frontiersman, and images of him have survived. But the use of his name as a song title is merely a metaphor for something else that itself is just a lyrical construct. A bird's eye view of Lord Howe Reef off the east coast of Australia.
I needed a geographical location that was visible from space for the narrative of the song, and that's the one I chose. I don't know how I stumbled onto it even. It's probably because it's more of an aquamarine kind of a locale involving a very large reef. And so that I found attractive, you know, as opposed to a land feature like, you know, the Great Wall of China, or I don't know if it rolls off the tongue, but I don't know, it feels right. I like it. I like the word Lord. I like the word reef, you know, Lord Howe. I mean, it just feels good. It feels regal.
Like Daniel Boone, and he was showing me his smile.
That's lovely.
Yeah, but that is something that the character in the song is seeing as he's either ascending toward the moon or descending back toward Earth. In this particular story, that's how the reincarnation cycle is working. That's the trajectory of the soul, so to speak.
When Paz adds her backing vocals to Daniel Boone on December 18th, Charles is present to provide support and any necessary suggestions.
Charles was just singing a different harmony in here, Paz.
Okay.
And it sounds really good.
Okay.
Sounds like a little bit more uplifting.
Sing it to me, Charles.
Charles, do you want to sing it?
Yeah, it's just a tune-out, you know, thing.
And I'm floating down
Okay.
the
And I'm floating down to you. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that.
Sounds nice.
and I'm floating down to you. And I'm noting from on high that the Lord Harry looks like Daniel Boone, and he is showing me his smile.
I think that's great, Paz.
Oh, we're done?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
The song would now seem complete. But on December 21st, Tom makes use of the studio's vast array of instruments to add percussion to a trio of songs, including Daniel Boone.
And Dave, to give you a heads up on those drum things I was thinking of, it's basically the kind of choruses, which are the drop sections in Daniel Boone. And I floated toward the moon, just like a kind of boom, 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 just so there's a kind of rumbling presence in there.
Okay.
I just realised there is a timpani here, isn't there?
This is the first time David Lovering has played timpani on a Pixies record, and the instrument requires some literal fine-tuning.
I don't know how you do this.
But after the timpani part has been added, it becomes apparent that it's just what Daniel Boone required, especially on that, quote, bespoke middle eight.
He was showing me his smile.
Perfect.
And I floated toward the
It feels like this huge lift, but actually, like dynamically, it doesn't get massively loud, doesn't get massively brash there. It actually sort of goes down to this kind of, you know, like Joey's doing a little sort of mandolin-ish kind of part in the background, and Charles is playing, I'm pretty sure Charles is playing his Nashville like high-strung acoustic there. So actually, volume-wise, it kind of goes quite intimate there.
After mixing all of Beneath the Erie and sequencing Daniel Boone's its second from last song, Tom reflects that this ballad could afford the occasional production drama, like the timpani, because at the end of the day, the songs that Charles Thompson writes are inherently impervious to cliché.
Charles's chords are always like slightly skewed, you know, and the way the melody falls over it is like, it's just like ever so slightly unsettling. So what I was trying to do is like, well, let's make this as power ballad as we can, knowing that it's not like just having a big snare is going to suddenly make it sound like Whitesnake. I've got that kind of safety net of the, yeah, it's a Pixie song.
He is showing me his smile. And he is showing me his smile.
Next week, it's a Pixies Podcast, episode 12, the final episode